That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Choose or Die, the directorial debut of Toby Meakins, which Netflix is releasing April 15th, 2022.
That's today?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Directorial debut. What? I knew we were in trouble with the description on Netflix. It didn't say what the story was. It says, voice work by Robert Englund.
Yeah.
For like, okay.
No, like Robert Englund makes a cameo.
Yeah, that was the highlight of the plot for the description. So yeah, I did not care for this movie at all.
This was difficult to get through, and I kept getting up because I physically wanted to remove myself from the room because it was just an unpleasant experience. And not that it's really doing anything wrong, it's just not likable.
And egregiously loud.
It is very loud.
Okay.
And very poorly written.
The basic story. It's set in modern time. There's a young lady named Kayla, and her backstory is like broken home. Her mom's a drug addict. She lives in the projects. She's being harassed by the building superintendent / drug dealer / mailman. She's having problems holding down work. So she's working like at a temp agency doing like janitorial work, which is odd, and we can get into it, but she's like a very talented programmer.
A coder.
Like, girl, if you need a job, I can help you with that. So they're on the struggle bus. She has a friend, this little boy who looks like Frankie Munoz.
That's Asa Butterfield, who's in quite a few things.
She goes to hang with him, and she's digging through his shit and finds an old, like, cassette tape, which was weird. Because she finds an old cassette tape, and he explains, like, oh, a lot of video games back in the day, like in the 80s, would have cash prizes. So depending on like, finding little treasures within the game, and then you like call a number and win a prize. So she finds a game, it's called Cursor, and there's a phone number, and he's like, well, call it, because a lot of these games, no one ever claimed the prize money. So she calls, and it's Freddie Krueger on the phone, saying like, hey, this is Robert Englund, horror legend. The prize money's still here, so give me the code and you'll get the money. So of course, she decides to play the game. And where I was confused by was like, I remember 80s 8-bit video games, and they came with cartridges, but she has like an audio cassette, and then she's like using a computer to program the game. I was very confused by that component.
And how her coding comes to... is notable because there's something in the way that the sound is coded that they have to...
It's overly complicated, but she gets into the game. And basically the game is...
a demon.
I thought it was going to be like Saw, because the first level... There are 4 levels before she gets to the boss. Level 1 is when she first downloads the game onto her laptop, and she's sitting in a restaurant, which was like a really bad scene. The acting between her and the waitress server was really poor. But the game is like choose or die. So it says, she realizes that the game knows what she's doing in real time. And it says, oh, the server, waitress, do you want her to take a break or keep working? Something like, I wrote it down actually. But
she's breaking glasses.
So she says, take a break while breaking glasses. And then the server's breaking glasses and starts to eat the glass. So of course Kayla becomes alarmed, tries to stop her, and then completes level 1. I'll get into the other challenges, but she completes level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and then it's time to go meet the boss. Well, the boss is, the opening of the film before the credits roll is that actor Eddie Marsan.
Eddie Marsan.
Eddie Marsan. He's with his family. They live in a beautiful home. And we see that he's playing the game, and that he has elected to have his wife like cut out the son's tongue. So that's the opening. So at the very end, the boss level is Eddie with his family. Kayla shows up and she's like, well, I guess we gotta fight. They fight to the death, and she's pronounced the winner. And her prize is she's given the code. And we'll get into where this game originated from, but basically now she's been given the power to control this game, and she's going to use it as like a way to, like, she's like a hero, and she's going to exact vengeance against those who deserve to be, I don't know. She uses some language like she's gonna get the bad guys. And her first one is she kills that damn building superintendent, drug dealer, mailman. The end.
Yeah, there you go. That.
Okay, this movie fails on every level because it's not gory, it's not scary, it's not
There's no
written,
energy,
it's
there's
not
no
funny.
tension.
There's like the music's loud. So the challenges. I thought this was going to be like Saw.
It's very Saw meets Squid Game, which may be why Netflix's interest was in there.
But it's not because these challenges are not gory. So the mom cutting off the son's tongue, we don't see it. We just see her holding a knife and him with a bloody mouth, the aftermath. Then we see the lady eat glass. That was the most difficult thing to watch. But it's not that gruesome. It's just like the sound of it. Then I thought the most interesting challenge was level 2. Her drug addict mom is in the apartment and is calling Kayla, like, help me, there's a rat in the apartment trying to eat me. But it's all depicted on this, 8-bit graphic game.
And it looks like Pac-Man.
It looks like Pac-Man. Yeah. And she's sort of telling the mom, like, where to go. I thought that premise was interesting, but the acting was bad.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Level 3 is Kayla and Frankie Munoz go into, like, they have to pick red door, blue door. They go into one of the doors. And another subplot is that Kayla's brother died. And we see that they are in the location where he died. So apparently he drowned in a pool. And the brother tries to attack her. But she and Frankie are able to escape. The fourth one is her little friend. Like, they're able to, like, find the location of where, like, the game is sourced. Mm-hmm. Because, like you mentioned earlier, there's a component of like sound that plays into it, and they go there, and then there's a challenge where like Frankie has to like eat like a VHS cassette, and it's like rewinding and forwarding. That was loud and looked kind of dumb, and like he doesn't die. Then we learn that the person who harnessed the power of this game or created it is named Beck.
Uh-huh.
And he explains in a cringy, terrible...
Well, because they find an old tape.
They find an old cassette tape, and it's supposed to look like 80s video, but it looks so bad. And he's explaining that there are these like ancient symbols and these demons, and if you...
Like Bluetooth.
And if you... Like, just his explanation made no sense to me, because then they're also including the symbols with the audio.
And we watch the first experiment of this game where somebody eats their arm.
And that's one other challenge, is that someone is told to eat their arm, and then Beck is showing that. So the thing is, if you're playing, the power of this demon symbols audio thing that he's discovered is that if you, the cursor, that's where the name of the game comes from, the person putting the curse, like, it will reverse whatever bad has happened to them. So like we see Beck stab his like arm, and he's bleeding profusely, and then he makes the man eat his own arm, and then as the man is eating his own arm, Beck's wound is healing. So obviously, with great power comes great responsibility.
And also, isn't it confirmed that this person owned the...
Okay, another confusing plot point is Kayla, who's having a hard time finding work, even though she's smart and can code. She's like cleaning up an empty corporate office. And then we find and the business is called Kismet. And then the final scene is she gets a call from Beck. And Beck owns that building. Mm-hmm. What did he have to do? Why does she work? Because it's not even...
Isn't he like, I guess you beat my game?
Because it would make sense if like Beck found her and wanted to like have this coder girl play the game.
Let's have a collab.
But he didn't plant that game. Her little Frankie Munoz friend said that he had bought this game at a thing a long time ago, and it was just sitting in his apartment.
And Eddie Marsan found his because he collects 80s things.
So it was totally random that she found this game. And then she happens to work cleaning the building that the man who created the game owns, like 40 years later.
I mean, this was filmed in London, and even that, it feels so contained that
yes,
it feels like a post-apocalyptic city. There's no one around.
Well, and there are no characters. Like, they're in this big city, and we see shots, like aerial shots, and there's no one. There's no one. An empty building. Every building they go into is empty.
The worst part of it for me is this Beck sequence with the actor's name is Joe Bolland, who looked to me like Jared Leto playing Mark David Chapman.
He's cute.
You know, the guy that killed John Lennon?
Yes.
In that movie, Chapter 27.
Yes, where he gains all the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cute little guy, but that shit was terrible. I don't even have a lot of notes. I didn't like the music. It is overwhelming and overbearing.
Oh, the soundtrack selection.
I mean, maybe we're cursed with a good theater system, but that shit was,
I was like, ooh,
oh my God, turn this down.
Turn that off. Kayla is played by Iola Evans.
She's a beautiful person, but I don't think she can act that well.
To be fair, this script is not good. It was written also by Simon Allen, who's written a lot of television, including the reboot of Das Boot, and Matthew James Williamson, who's done a lot of shorts and produced things, including Ramla Gray's Amulet. I think people...
Which is a good movie.
Yes, but producer. I think a lot of people that aren't adept at writing for the screen...
It'd be like me writing a script. You don't want that.
I'm sure that you could...
Speaking of the bad writing, there's a scene, level 4, when they went... Because they used, like, the sound of dialing the number that got them Freddie Krueger. Mm-hmm. Frankie Munoz is like, if we analyze this, somehow that can help us with, like, geopositioning. And then they find this location. They show up at this warehouse. And he walks in and there's, like, it's empty, of course. And there's, like, a computer sitting there. And he's just standing there looking around. And he's like...
He looks down and goes...
Hey, do you see these? And there are these big-ass cables on the floor. Like, yeah, girl, we all see it. Like...
It's not Frankie Munoz. It's Asa Butterfield, who's in Scorsese's Hugo. He starred in Ender's Game. He was my least favorite part of Peter Strickland's Flux Gourmet, which just played at Berlin this year.
There is one fun scene. Well, it's laughably bad, but I thought it was amusing. Is Eddie Marsan. Mm-hmm. When he's confronted with Kayla because he's at his dining room table with his family during the day, and he's talking about something, and Kayla says, "Fuck the 80s," and then he screams, "Fuck the 80s!" Like,
even in the beginning with his son and wife that clearly have no respect for him, and the son is like, he's just obsessed with the 80s.
There is a cool visual.
Like, what is he watching pop-up video all day? Like,
he's watching Alf all day. The son, it did look cool because the son's tongue and eyes have been gouged out, so he has like
Picasso,
like paper coverings that look like Picasso. I thought whoever came up with that was cool.
Yeah, it's not like there isn't some thought put into it. It's just...
It was really hard to sit through this film. For that reason, I would give it 0.5 out of 5.
The way that the the game is corresponding with them with that font and it's reading their thoughts reminded me a lot of Whoopi Goldberg and Jumpin' Jack Flash.
No.
If you recall that.
No.
Okay.
What would you give this film?
0.5.
Anything else?
No.
Listen to our podcast. Bye.